thank you for joining us to the opening session of our forum. After the welcome remarks of Knut and myself, we're now coming into the first session. I would like to thank Thomas Mazur, the partner of Deloitte, for sponsoring and helping put together and moderate this panel. I would like also to thank the German Shipowners Association for the help and support that has been given to us for this forum. And also I'd like to mention the great help of Thomas Rehder, who has really been a tremendous contributor for this event. And Thomas, I'm turning it over to you to introduce the panelists. Thank you to everybody for being with us.
Yeah, Nicolas, thank you very much for the opening remark here. And a warm welcome to all of you from Hamburg. I hope that the technique is working all the time, which was just a problem a few minutes ago, but now it should work. It's a big honor to moderate this opening panel with the topic, the German Maritime Cluster, Past, Present, Future. For me, it's about turning challenges into winning strategies. And I'm proud of having here the great panel with me. And let me share my screen to introduce the panelists. And this should work right now. You should see the panelists in a second. I see also my presentation has changed due to these technical topics. But okay, let me introduce the panelists first. So we have Kapitän Alfred Hartmann. He is the chairman of the German Shipowners Association and also managing director of Hartmann Group, which is one of the major shipping companies in Germany. We have also here with me Thomas Rehder. Thomas Rehder is managing partner of the shipping company Carsten Rehder, a very traditional shipping company from Hamburg. And also he was president of the German Community Shipowners Association. And
European Community.
Oh, European Community, right, yeah, European Community Shipowners Association, and is still in the board of this organization. And then we have with me Michael Finnen, one very traditional ship owner here in Germany. You can say from when the shipping company started in the past, it's a very traditional shipping company from Bremen. Managing partner of Finnen Shipping. And then we have Dr. Martin Harren in the panel. He is managing partner of Harren Group, also based in Bremen. And but also he acquired 3 years back SAL Heavy Lift and is the managing director there. So it's a great honor to have you all here in the panel. And let me first jump on one slide to open up the panel discussion. So German shipping is still, you see this, I hope you see this shared screen. German shipping is still a very leading shipping market. We are number 4 in terms of fleet size globally. However, and you see it in the graph here, German shipping always outpaced over a decade the global shipping growth. But since 2013, we turned this in the other way. So we halved our share on the global fleet. So this is likely to continue based on our order book and based on the financing we have, because financing means for shipping, they appear very limited from our view. But given that we are the 3rd largest exporter and that exports in Germany is one of the backbone of our whole economy, there's a huge potential. And when we look on the fleet growth globally, which is constant over more than a decade, then we see that we potentially can come back on track and grow at the same pace like the global fleet. But how to do this? What are the key and cornerstones for this? And we as Deloitte identified 5 key topics to turn our shipping landscape into a winning scheme here again. First, it's about financing, then focus. So we have to focus on our competitive edge. We have digitization, green shipping, and we need to rethink our success measurement in a more sustainable way. These are also topics for our discussion round. And now I stop sharing and we come to our panel round. So the first question is about financing and goes to Kapitän Hartmann. Kapitän Hartmann, you recently managed to successfully refinance your fleet, or a major part of this. So do you feel there is a financing gap, and what is a winning strategy to overcome this?
Yeah, thank you, Thomas, for the question. But first, I'm not the managing director. I'm the chairman of the board of the Hartmann AG. So it's a small difference. Yes, we managed to refinance, and that was really hard work, especially last year with the Corona problems, because we could not meet each other anymore, and that was one of the problems. The other problem was neither the buyer nor the seller could visit the ships before sale or buying. That was really difficult, and it was a hard work for everybody which were involved. And but at the end of the day, we succeeded. So that's one thing, and I have to say thank you, because it was real hard work for everybody. But financing for German shipping, is it still possible or not? Just also to see the graph you showed to us, the decline of the German fleet, I would say, like Socrates already knew, the secret of change is not to fight the old, but to build the new. I think that is very important for us. The German shipping industry has changed substantially over the past decade, and with it was used to be the German ship finance cluster that failed. While the German ship financing banks once had around 106 billion US dollar of business, they struggle to get anywhere near that figure today and in the future. It will not come back, at least not for the near future. In the years following the global financial crisis, new ship finance structures have been developed and new sources of finance have become available to the German shipping industry. Conventional ship financing deals with traditional banks have now become few and far between. Most ship finance banks that historically dominated the German market have been exiting shipping by actively marketing and selling their shipping portfolios, or allowing existing loans to amortize and not taking on new business. So not all banks left the shipping financing, but the major German, the big banks, of course, they left, and we must also say they lost a lot of money with that. Although this has been triggered by the financial crisis in the following years of 2008, there are other factors affecting the desire that banks to shrink their shipping portfolio. These factors include the increasing regulation and scrutiny faced by the European banks, particularly as a result of the bail regulations and following the substantial losses made by these banks in the shipping industry over the course of the last decade. Following this substantial reduction in the availability of financing from traditional banks, German ship owners are increasingly turning to alternative financing sources. This is particularly the case for the majority of small to medium-sized German ship owners, as traditional lenders are generally focusing on larger shipping clients due to the regulatory and risk management requirements. As a result of this, German ship owners are now becoming increasingly interested in considering structures such as high-yield bonds, convertible debts, capital and operating leases, as well as preferred equity structures. Some of the larger players within the shipping market have turned to the capital markets in order to meet their funding requirements. And we have to know that almost 80% of the German ship owners are small or medium-sized entities, so that are not big shipping companies.
Yeah, but just a short question, Mr. Hartmann. I mean, these companies have no access to high yield bond structures, things like this. How can they refinance their fleet?
Yeah, yeah, okay. Refinance, it might be a problem because we have a problem of loan to value ratio. So that is a problem. So if to refinance a ship with a high loan to value, it's probably difficult, but financing for new projects might be much easier. But this is we have two tiers. If you have as a small owner with a few vessels, of course you have to look for traditional financing, as we say in Germany, with friends and with family and friends, and that works still very good. But you need a good project. So with good projects, it's possible still today. And with the markets, which are much better than it was last year, it looks, it will continue, or with a continuation, of course, then we will find also more equity come from private investors.
Okay.
This works already. So, but then, of course, also for smaller ship owners, Chinese banks and leasing companies are becoming increasingly active within the shipping industry. This activity is likely to increase, aimed at supporting the Chinese shipbuilding industry. So if you build in China, it's not a real condition, but of course, then in many cases, the Chinese banks offer lease financing, and for many of us it's attractive, not for all of us, and it's not it costs a bit more than the traditional financing we were used in the last year, like a KG financing, as you said, as we know. So it's a bit more difficult, but the structures with a good structure, with a good project, with long-term, with a good business model, with a long-term employment, which grants return of investment, there are opportunities also for smaller ship owners to get a financing. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. I give the word to Thomas Rehder. Thomas, what is your experience? I mean, we just learned the long-term charter, Chinese ship, then you have a Chinese lender, might be, or a German bank stepping in. Is your experience as well?
Well, I think as a general remark to begin with, Thomas, I think we can see that loan finance in general has a much higher risk awareness today and is also much tighter regulated. And bearing this in mind, of course, leasing solutions have a certain attraction. I think we have seen a lot of leasing structures in the past. However, they have primarily been used for end users, and they have primarily been used for either companies with strong balance sheet, or they have been used for companies that have provided very long-term charters as a backup for these leasing structures. So I think they're attractive, and they're also attractively priced for individual situations, but they do not replace the exodus of the traditional lending community that we have seen in Germany. I mean, today the biggest traditional ship lender is OVB and Lear, and with all due respects to them, because I think they do an excellent job, I think for a country like Germany, this is, to say the least, underfunded. And so I think that is a problem. We see that the traditional asset-backed lending is very scarce and very restrictive. And it is expensive because asset-backed lending, of course, today is at a disadvantage when you compare it to the past, and the regulations have changed. But we see that you need asset-backed lending for the liquid parts of the market, because shipping will not be able to survive without having a liquid charter market, where you do not have long-term employment and where people are not willing to back it up with their balance sheet, or they do not have the strong balance sheets. So I think the traditional lending will be required, no doubt, and leasing and bond issues and similar structures are just good for one portion of the market.
Okay. So we hope that we can convince the German lenders and investors come back. And potentially here we have the next topic, which is focus, because it's key to write an investor story to show something. And at least for us as Deloitte, investor story is more than just a long-term employment of a vessel. It's more in what we see. All lenders, they focus more on corporate structures, on a corporate story, and the same do investors globally, not just only in Germany. Michael, Finn, are you expecting a further, say, teaming up, going together in whatever form or consolidation in the market to be able to write this investor story, to focus on the own competitive edge? Is this required? So size doesn't matter, we know, speed matters, but but what do we see in the German shipping here?
Well, thank you, Thomas. Consolidation is, of course, a big question, has been a big question, and we've seen a lot of horizontal consolidations, not so much vertical. But of course, starting with the mainline operators, for example, we all know they have merged a lot, Maersk buying Hamburg Süd and Hapag-Lloyd merging with UASC and so on. Another important field, chartering brokers. Also, we've seen quite a few mergers in the German top container ship chartering brokers. There's these new groups, BlueNet, which is Costa Mare and Döhle, and others getting together. We also joined them with our fleet. Hanseatic Unity, several German owners getting together, or Harper Peterson, another group, and so on. So also, I think in chartering brokers, size, access to information, access to charterers matters. But then we come to ship management, which is also our field. We have not seen so many big mergers in Germany, or yeah, let's say in Germany. So I think here size matters less, and focus, as you were saying, focus is more important. Focus on your own strength and the market knowledge you have of certain ship types that you can run and manage well. And I think it's very important to realize that according to a Clarkson study, worldwide, 60% of all vessels are managed by companies that are small or medium sized, not more than 20 vessels. So that's not a German phenomenon to have small and big players, but also many small players. So it's a worldwide 60% less than 20 vessels. So for example, for our company, we have gone away to offer ship management, which is in accordance with the SOX, this American Sarbanes-Oxley Act. This is the transparency, you know it as well, of course, as audit company, this Transparency and Information Act that you have to fulfill if you are US listed. So with this, we are able to manage vessel for a US listed company, which is Costa Mare in this case, also the biggest container ship owner of Greece. So this has cost us a lot of effort, and we had to change our systems tremendously. But now we can, with this, also prove to the outside that we can offer ship management in this according to this requirement and this quality. So this is one example where we have focused, which gave us new opportunities for business. So also with our size, we see a future there. So I mean, you mentioned in the beginning, we're an old company, we're more than 200 years. So we've been reinventing ourselves, and this is another step in that way. So yeah, in summary, I think in ship management, other than in other fields, there will be a big variety of companies, and each has to find its own focus.
Thank you very much, Michael. Yeah, Martin, you managed to finance a number of projects, always, at least from my perception, on a project by project basis. So always finding new investors. You work, I know, with good friends, but also very, say, educated, professional, global acting investors. So what is your winning strategy to attract financing for your projects?
First of all, thank you very much, Thomas, that you assume that we have a winning strategy to get investors on board. So my question would be, why do you think that is the case?
Yeah, at least I saw, for me, I saw that you were not trying basically to build one huge, say, project and try then to bring everything into this, but you are then chasing investors on a project by project basis. So say, okay, we have an idea which guarantees a certain, say, return. We can, so, but we only focus on one thing, not on 10 things at the same time.
Yeah, maybe I would even say there is no, let's say, strategy. If it's a winning or losing, doesn't matter. So I think we don't have somewhere in our organization a strategy how to attract investors. So what we have is, of course, a business model which is centered and focusing on clients, of course. Yeah? So, and of course, I would say, of course, we are blessed with many people which are really dedicated towards the goal. If it's our engineering, if it's our chartering, if it's our, at the end of the day, it starts with a booking, then the performance, and at the end of the day, also our bookkeeping system has to be in order and controlling to get things done. And that is, I would say, in general, that is, let's say, working quite okay. Yeah, to be, let's say, full of self-esteem, yeah. But that is, at the end of the day, if that is, let's say, working, then you also have the chance to convince people also to support you, let's say, with financial help. But there, of course, that is a big puzzle. But I would say there is no strategy towards investors. There is a strategy towards clients, and it's and of course that is based on our organization in Bremen and Hamburg and our offices, which is, at the end of the day, serving our clients, and that is, at the end of the day, also the reason that we are also successful in the finance space. Let's say, if that is answering your question, Thomas.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's great to hear that, and I also listen and learned this from Michael Finn here. So the more you focus on your client, the more successful is also the convincing, say, story. So like when you set up Sarbanes-Oxley procedures to be able to serve capital market oriented companies or listed companies, and from your end it's the same. Like if you focus on the client and 100% know what the client wants, then it's also convincing your investor friends. Right?
Yeah, you know, it is exactly like that. And if you're a financing partner, and all these people are very well educated, and most likely they're even more intelligent than we, and of course they will look at us and they want to see can we serve our clients. For the finance part, they are, let's say, taking that part over, and they don't want us to have a strategy towards, let's say, financing people. So this is, at the end of the day, there's a need, yes, but not a strategy.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
So the next topic is digitization, which we think as Deloitte is key, not just only to better control cost. So the last, say, percentage in cost, maybe, when you have big data analysis tools, but it's also to improve service to customer, and it's maybe also offering new services. And 2 years back, Deloitte and the mainline operator, we kicked off a new body. This is the DCSA, the Digital Container Shipping Association. which we founded together. And this is a standard setting body to allow exactly technology, connectivity, and electronic documentation, that this is somewhat like in its own and global standard. And here, Michael Finn, is this something which impacting your business, that you see in these container liners and you manage container ships? You just mentioned it from Costa Mare. Is this already impacting also the owner, the manager? Or is it something which is only in the mainline operators and there's no need for digitization on your end? You're on mute, Michael.
Yes, sorry. Now it's sorry. To be honest, before we spoke about this panel, I haven't heard of this DCSA, Digital Container Ship Association. So that is certainly focused on the box, on the container, and standardization among the main liner operators. But I mean, in the end, so we're not haven't really had contact with that. But of course, we in the future, I think, need also more information about the cargo we have on board. You know, now we don't really know much about the containers we have on board. And if anything happens, I think that is not a good status. So I think through that also DCSA, we can improve that. But of course, in the more broader aspect of your question, digitalization is a huge subject for us, for everybody in shipping, also for us as owners, and the need for standardization in shipping, moving more in a direction where maybe aviation or other industries have gone. I have one example. We have, for example, again, talking about Maersk Line, but that's one of our biggest customers, and they have for the reefer containers. The reefer containers are always, of course, of big importance to the charterers because of the value and the importance of the cargo. And they've put up their own system on our ships, a communication unit being placed on the Monkey Island, on top of the bridge, on the open deck there, where the reefer containers send all the data to this unit, and through our satellite communication, we're then sending it to Maersk. And I'm sure soon they will also provide that to their customers, so let's say the fruit importer can see how his bananas are doing on during the sea travel on board of the ship in that reef. But that's a company-specific solution. So I think that should be a solution that the whole industry can use. So we as owners would then have systems that can work with everybody in that field, for example. But in general, already the requirements that we have to report data to our charterers on all operating matters is huge. So it's still, though, that the engineers go to the engine control room, take notes and input these data into some reporting software, our own reporting software, those of the charterers and so on. So we know exactly what's going on, but it's a little bit, too manual. But it's difficult to put all these sensors in an existing ship. So for new buildings, I think all this sensoring of many elements, many engines on board will happen, and that will be one way to deal with it. But of course, in general, I mean, already now it's in full swing. The whole all digital aspects on board the vessels. The engineers have to be more IT, have more IT knowledge, and definitely in the office also we've really stocked up there a lot and invested a lot, and that will certainly continue, no doubt.
Thank you. Martin Haven, is digitization, could this be a winning strategy? I mean, when you're so client focused, are these clients demanding that you more, say, pass over certain data, like we just learned from the reefer containers? I mean, you're on heavy lift and break bulk. Is there digitization also in this business?
You mean a winning strategy towards clients, like Michael just said, for Maersk being his client.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say it's to win clients, of course, a big puzzle, right? So there are many pieces which I think are more important, but of course they could also let's say, have some benefit of, let's say, tracing cargo at the end of the day could be a thing. But at the end of the day, I would say, at least for us, yeah, digitization is maybe relevant for coordinating with our colleagues. We have a certain speed in communication and towards your field, auditing, Jahresabschlüsse, this kind of thing, to be, let's say, quite fast there. But towards, if it's a winning strategy towards clients.
So it's more than winning towards investors, yeah, giving them real-time information where their returns are.
Yeah, maybe towards investors. Sometimes if it comes to, let's say, what Mike, for ship management. For ship management, if you have people who are invested in a ship and you can supply them with real-time data, with real-time information on their computer at their home, especially for very critical professional investors, private equity, that could be maybe also a competitive advantage. But in general, for us, for our clients, cargo owners, I don't think that is relevant. For us as a company, extremely relevant. Of course, extremely relevant, I think, for us at the moment, working 10 IT people. So that is something which I would say is very significant, very important, but it's more about being able to communicate and to exchange and so on. But towards clients is maybe not the most important thing towards winning them or keeping them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, then let's pass over to a next keystone, which is green shipping, so decarbonization. And we as Deloitte, together with Shell, we conducted a global study last year on decarbonization. And there were 95% of all interview partners, they concluded that decarbonization is a top priority in shipping. And Alfred Hartmann, do you see this the same way, that decarbonization is driving and has a positive effect on demand? So that's easier to charter ships, to win charter parties?
Yes, of course, decarbonization is a real big issue, because we, as Ship Owners Association worldwide, it was ICS, we granted by ourselves to reduce the CO2 emissions by 50% by 2050 and completely decarbonize until the end of the century. So that's a big issue. But I have to also, we have to know the volumes or the quantity of cargo increased by 40% since 2000, from between 2008 and 2018, and the emissions were reduced by 10%. That means even the EU ships are much better than the previous ships. Our problem is it's in every continent. In my company, by ourselves, we work already. We have 5 new buildings, gas carriers operating. They work all on gas, and that means carbon is reduced by 25%. But this will not be sufficient by the end of the century, because we need complete new fuels. And whatever fuel we are using, when there's a C in the chemical formula, then of course we will produce CO2. That means we need new fuels. Hydrogen might be, I had this morning a big discussion about that, but hydrogen is not available and is very difficult. It has to be cooled down to 253 degrees, and it's not only expensive. So probably there's ammonia, there's methanol, but methanol is also a C in the formula if you look for that. Ammonia, it's NH3, that means there's no C, that is clean. But what we need, it's new technique, and we need the availability of such a fuel worldwide, so that we can take that fuel on at any port in the world. So that is it's a very big issue. But for us as ship owners, of course, it's very serious. We look for that, we investigate, we invest a lot of money in new technologies, but for the time being, there's not sufficient alternatives. And so what we need to invest in research and development, not as shipping companies, but the governments worldwide. We need new distribution systems. We need the availability all over the world. So that has to be subsidized, and without subsidies, it will not work. And every shipper likes to have the green ship, but when it comes to terms of payment, then the willingness is not very high to pay the additional money for a green ship, because the investment it's 10, 20, 30 million, depends on the size of the vessel on top of that compared to traditional ship design. So, but we take it very seriously, and we have to do it, and we all know that we have to decarbonize as sooner as better, but we need a structure for that. We need the EU fuels, and that we cannot produce by ourselves. That is not what shipping can do by itself. It has to come from the governments or from the society.
Okay, thank you very much. Martin Hahn, is this, I mean, you have done already these investments into green shipping. Are these paying off, or is this just you paying and the client to win a client, but is not the client paying for it?
Yeah, I think we did several investments. Some are more or less successful, some are maybe not so successful. In general, of course, we are operating our own ship, as you know, and of course, if we do a kind of investment, what we did for 4 of our ships in a kind of hydrogen, let's say, generating system where you optimize the burning process, the combustion process, and we expect 2 to 3 tons of savings per day for ships. That is, of course, significant, but I have to say the installation for the first ship is almost done, but there was a kind of delay because the technicians couldn't fly, and at the end of the day, because of Corona, so there is a kind of delay, and that project is delayed, so I cannot really judge if it is successful at the end of the day or not. But first of all, it is not only sponsored by our fuel savings. It is also sponsored, I have to say, by a subsidy of KfW, which is, we speak about German cluster, right? So this is also very important, and I have to mention that and say thank you. 50% of that investment, which is 7 digits, let's say, it's a very significant, is done by our great government.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, the very last round is about sustainable success measurement. Michael Finn, is there anything you would change in your success measurement? I mean, we know that environmental, social governance principles are taking, say, over here. Are investors already demanding these measurements? And we have just a short minute left, so just one statement.
Very short.
It's not.
Okay, over.
Well, I mean, in chartering, yes, all the consumption matters is already important. I think for any investor, many invest according to ESG principles nowadays, and these are booming. So it will be important. But we have to realize one thing, and that's why I'm a little bit skeptical. Now, if you look at the new buildings that are built now, most just have a conventional heavy fuel burning engine, even nowadays, and they have a lifespan of 25, 30 years. So to be honest, that until the whole fleet will be on better fuels or new fuels and carbon free, it will take a long time. It's a lot of investment. So nobody can expect from shipping to work miracles there.
Okay.
Short.
So last word, Thomas Rehder, in this round is: do you think German shipping can win the match? Can master these challenges? You're on mute, Thomas.
Sorry. I think German shipping can win the match when they focus on their customers. That was pointed out by Martin very well. But customers are to some extent also investors. And I think we have provide tailor-made investment solutions in order to attract investment for our business. And when we do that, then I think we will also be able to master the challenge. And everyone has to find his own way of doing that.
Okay.
Yeah. And since we have been reminded that the last minute is over, I think I skipped all other thoughts that you can have on the subject, which would certainly require more time. But thank you, Thomas, and wishing everybody a very successful conference.
Yeah, same for me. Thank you to all the panelists. So we see and we learned about the topic. There's a huge investment to be done, but this is also not just only Germany. We need these fuels to decarbonize shipping, digitization. Yeah, I think it will also come and reach the tramp owner in a much more way, in a deeper way, and also be client focused. That's what we learned from this session. So thank you very much. And then after having all this, then we get lenders again on board, and hopefully this we will see very soon. Thank you.
Thank you to everybody.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.